if we were to define a player as fantasy touchdown dependent, it would be Jamaal Williams last year. He set the Detroit Lions running back record for touchdowns ahead of Barry Sanders, which was a big thing here in Detroit. Like a lot of people, that was something to be celebrated for sure. But then not returning to the Lions and then moving to a crowded backfield in New Orleans, that's poised for problems for Jamaal Williams. I think returning on being a low-end running back one, but he's not being drafted that way. He's being drafted in the late running back 30s in most places. Is that like too far of a fall, Matt? And we obviously know he's not going to match those touchdowns, but how is this fall too far in the overperformer of Jamaal Williams?
With what we know, the information that we have, I think that's probably just about right. You look at the things, there's a reason why I love David Montgomery this season. It's that Lions offense. It's a top 5 offense in the National Football League. You mentioned those 17 rushing touchdowns that he had. He's not going to get that in New Orleans. There's no way he hits that. That was a miraculous type season there. And the thing is, people forget about this Detroit Lions offensive line was really good. I think Williams had about 1.84 yards per carry before contact last season, which was one of the top notches in the league. So when people say, hey, can Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery coexist in fantasy? Yes, you could probably put them both in your lineup on the same week, on the same team, on the same roster, and be okay. We talk about the team in Detroit that knew how to run the ball. Like I literally have Jamaal Williams right now at RB30 in half-point PPR leagues. Beautiful. And that right now is actually higher, I think about 4 spots higher than where the consensus has him as far as half-point PPR is concerned. The Saints, they ran the ball 465 times last season. That was the 19th most, averaging 116.6 yards per game, which was the 14th fewest. Williams is going to help, but Carr will be looking to shove that 2023 season right back in the Raiders' face. Let's not forget about how petty that Derek Carr can be. We've heard him already talk, throw a few jabs there. The Raiders, they fumbled this whole quarterback situation in Vegas. They let Derek Carr go. They burnt that bridge. Then they signed a guy that probably wouldn't be able to play with them this season, that they may end up cutting there in Jimmy Garoppolo. Meanwhile, he's got Olave, Raheem Shaheed, Michael Thomas, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill if you want to use him, A.T. Perry, Traquan Smith. And the Saints, they also invested capital into the position, not only via the NFL draft there in Kendre Miller, but they still are on the hook for Alvin Kamara. Once he's back from his suspension, if he gets suspended, I don't know if we have any clarity on that, but you have to imagine Kamara is going to miss some time. And when Kamara comes back, the Saints are going to run him into the ground. It's basically what they're going to end up doing because Kamara is still one of the more talented backs. Maybe Williams comes in, first 6 weeks, gives you some good solid production, but that production is going to drop. Williams' success rate, especially on the goal line, I think he had like a 41% conversion rate there on 32 attempts there. That is not sustainable. Not even for a guy like Jonathan Taylor. 41% conversion rate on 32 attempts on the goal line. First off, he's not going to get that many goal line carries. And second, that's like 50%, almost 50% of the time, right? 41 is 9% less. I'm not no genius in math, but basic math would tell me that ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fluke season. All the stars aligned. But going into 2023, Jamaal Williams was your classic running back 3. He was running back 36, I think, for 3 straight years in fantasy points per game. And that's about where he's going right. Not a lot of market shift based on what we saw last year, given the new landing spot, given you mentioned Derek Carr's probably going to pass a lot. And that offense is the offensive line is probably not as good as Detroit's.